canvas make you feel? How does this resonate with you? How does this resonate with you, Sanj?
Okay, so let me break this down for you here. So to me, the reason I love this piece is, number one, I love monkeys. Totally awesome animals.
Yeah.
Number two is it kind of represents, some of the world's biggest brands. You got a little bit of Coke going on here, the liquid kind. You got Campbell's going on over here, and then you got representation of one of the most iconic comics in the world, right? Snoopy. So, this whole piece brought together was just, obviously it's a replica because I can't afford real Banksy, but the reason it really resonated with this, at least for me, was that it brought all my favorite things together. Big brands, cool design, animals that we love, and just an overall color scheme that resonated with people and made you look at it.
And what's really amazing about it is that you can look at it and automatically recognize the brand. Right? You can see that, like, even though it doesn't say Snoopy, you know that it's Snoopy. You know that if it's, like, you're seeing, obviously, well, here, Oh, actually, this is perfect because it doesn't necessarily exactly say Coca Cola, but you can see because of how the logo is, you can say that it's Coca Cola.
Right, and every time you look at it, you notice a new detail. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there's little like comic books and like little things there. But I think the whole point of this is to really show the art of bull.
Hey, the art of storytelling is what she meant to say.
And like the whole point is that like we don't try to sell. It's not selling the product, it's selling the experience, the story behind it. And I know that's something that you always, like, I resonated and connected with you on that because you always said, like, literally what we do is tell stories.
Right, and I think everything has been defined since the beginning of time by stories, right? And no matter how much you say that you want to do video content or you want to create blogs or you want to put on seminars even, everything that you're doing is because there's a story behind it. When you stand up on stage, you're telling a story to that audience. When you're recording videos, we're telling them stories about things. And no matter how much that we say that whole side and everything's going online and things are going away, the premise and the foundation of the fact that everything's built on telling a story to keep people engaged is really what's key. And it's fascinating that that's the one thing that's really survived or been the foundation of the core of marketing at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. When you think about it, that's how, like, what brands are there for. It's basically to communicate, like, not only, like, the business, like, what kind of business you have, but it's, your culture, your values. Talking about, I always talk about the difference between, creating yourself and finding yourself.
Right.
Right? So it's like, even if you think about it, whether that comes to how your logo is or, your email signature or, your menus or anything, that tells a story and you need that consistency throughout it.
Right. And I think you said a key word, there's consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You'll have a lot of people or a lot of things that will come across where you'll have a black business card and then you'll have a red website and you'll have an orange flyer going on. Like, what just happened here, right? So the biggest things about the icons of these guys is everything was consistent. The colors are consistent. The fonts are consistent. The way they marketed was consistent. The voice was consistent. Mm-hmm. And it is not the easiest thing to do initially. But once you get there and you're able to maintain it, it's beautiful, right? Because you never have to worry or stress about what's going to happen tomorrow or how's this going to look or how are people going to react to it. Mm-hmm. Now your problem becomes is how do I keep up with the times?
That's true. So the thing is, like, something that I think my number one thing why I love marketing so much is the ability and power it has to shape perspective. Like, it's crazy. Like, the other day, actually, funny enough, I got, like, an ad, like, a sponsored ad on Instagram from Chipotle. So, Chipotle now has, their new keto bowl. So, in my head, I'm thinking about it. Chipotle just took their bowl that they usually have, because, let's be honest, doing keto.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. But like when I go to Chipotle, I'll get make my own keto bowl with like their lettuce. Yeah. But now, because they named it the keto bowl, everybody who's keto is gonna be like, oh my god, I finally have something to eat. They're gonna go, but it's just the way they shaped it.
Yeah.
Because they're still using the same ingredients, the same chicken, the same everything. Everything is the same. Maybe they added some kale into their lettuce. Sure, why not? That's perfect. Yeah. But
what did they do? They told you a story. They said, my bowl is keto friendly.
Yeah.
Right? And they told a story around it. And that's really, again, what it all comes back down to. It's amazing how you can take anything out there and drill it back down to a story or a vision or a mission or whatever you want to call it nowadays, that built that foundation up, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really, it's fun to research and look at and analyze things like you're doing, right? And take a look at different people's way of spinning things, I guess is the way
Yes.
to put it, right?
Yeah,
and I think our whole purpose or our whole thing that we kind of have to tread on is that fact that you don't want to become a storyteller that's selling snake oil, right? You want to have that integrity. You want to be able to go out there and tell a story that's actually legitimate, that actually can be fact-checked even, has the integrity and allows people to still connect with it. So it's like going out there and saying, you know what, my brand donates $1 million to charity every year, but really, you know, you pull a Trump and you actually put it in the bank account. So you know, having that ethical side to it and that way that you position it, I think is very key.
Well, I think it's in that sense, it's the transparency.
Right.
Because everybody now, it's not, when you think about it, like, a lot of people will maybe not go to certain restaurants or anything because, you know, maybe, you know, they use plastic or like anything like that. It's just people look for the story. It's not about the product anymore. They want to know if it's ethical, if like that transparency, they are looking for that. So now,
values.
Yeah. So it's not because like I know so many. Actually, you were telling me about someone that you went to go speak to who does it, like who looks for only uses certain brands because they don't test on animals and things like that. So there could be so many people who love, you know, the brand, love the product, but they decide not to use it because, you know, a scandal happened and, you know, they're using, I don't know, animals or testing or anything like that. So like people look for that transparency.
And now it's a matter of looking at, you know, really using that to determine who's your target market.
Yeah.
Because that's not your target market. You don't really necessarily affect your life if they're a part of your business or not, then good on you.
Mm-hmm.
If it does, then you want to make sure that you're consciously, again, consistently pushing that across your brand, right? And that's as simple as, you know, your taglines, right down to the way your socials put together, right down to when you're out there talking to people, how you're talking to them and the tone and the voice and how you're really, you know, communicating that way.
I think it's not only an art, but it's also a science.
I agree.
Right?
I agree fully. And it's one that takes a lot of practice and a lot of experience to get to, right?
Yeah.
You know, you could put the same image out with 5 different taglines and you get 5 different results.
Yeah.
Right? And we see that all the time, right? And that's sort of part of the testing process. So I think it's you know, again, going back to telling that story in a way that resonates and finding out what's that value prop within that statement that's going to get people to engage with you.
And I think that's like the fun part too, because in like when I'm doing social, for example, I'm not thinking, of course I'm thinking about the client and like their goals, but I have to put myself in, you know, behind the phone and think that I'm an Instagram follower looking at, you know, certain ads or anything.
Yeah.
So that puts things also in perspective as well, because you have to understand how other people will interpret it.
Right. And that's the great thing about working with agencies is that, you know, as you as the business owner, your head's in it and you're like, well, if I don't like it, then no one's going to like it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not the customer. And while you may have started something or built something based on a certain value or a certain demographic in mind, you may find that that's not actually people that are going to engage with you and work with you. Right. So you need to be able to have that piece where you can step back and look at things and objectively look at things and say, no, this is actually what's best for what my clients would like.
Yeah.
Right. And it's tough.
Well, it's about like building the story. And I said the other day, I actually in one of our meetings, I was talking about like we're building a story, but we can't stop at chapter 1.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's why we're talking about the consistency and really pulling. And I think more than anything, it's making those connections with everything.
That's it. It's finding that connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool topic. You know, I'd love to hear from people and through our social. Or, you know, if you have any ideas on your brand or you want us to take a look at your brand and say, hey, you know, is this consistent or is this something that you think people resonate with? Happy to do that at any time, right?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
You can DM and talk to Nat directly because she's the queen of that.
I love talking, so you know. Bam, bam.
And we can kind of go from there.
Okay, I love it. Awesome.
Thank you.